Great, thanks.
Delighted to be joined on Football CFB this evening by a man who's achieved a lot in football. He's played at Tottenham Hotspur and won domestic and European honours. He's played at Rangers and won a league title in Scotland. He also won promotion with Chelsea back when he was playing for them as well. 6 England caps to his name too, and a host of other important and very interesting tales too. Graham Roberts, thank you for joining me.
Pleasure. Nice to speak to you, Callum.
The first thing I want to ask you about is your starting football, because you've had an illustrious career, but you started in non-league. How did non-league ground you as a player?
Yeah, it was, I was at Portsmouth and I got released. I broke my ankle and got released. I went to Dorchester Town and they were a great club at the time. Dave Best, who was the ex-Ipswich goalkeeper, he was manager. And I played for them for about 18 months. And all of a sudden, sort of, Weymouth came in for me and bought me from Dorchester. And I was at Weymouth for 6 months and Bill Nicholson found me and took me to Tottenham. I could have gone to West Brom, but I changed my mind and went to Tottenham. And it was a good ground. And it was sort of, having all the knockbacks from Southampton, Portsmouth, Bournemouth, I just wanted to play football, and to go into non-league was hard because I got a job in the meantime as in a sort of oil rig, and became sort of training and 2 nights a week, getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning. It made you grow up very, very quickly. And it was a good understanding. And I learned a lot from that. And, it just made me more determined to become a professional footballer.
You mentioned that determination. It gets you to Tottenham, who are a massive club, as we both know. When you initially go in there, what was the standard of training like, going from playing in non-league to training with Spurs?
Well, it was all right because I had the whole pre-season with them, because when I joined, it was after the last game of the season, and I went on tour with them to Austria, played in a game out there, and then we had the summer off. So while everybody was going on holiday in the summer, I decided I was going to train through and get my fitness levels up, and that's what I did. We went on holiday for 2 weeks, and then for 5 weeks before I went back to start at Tottenham, I went running up in the woods and doing, getting my fitness levels up so that I knew when I went pre-season I would be 3/4 fit. So it was okay.
When you think of that Tottenham team, the team that wins the first FA Cup, you think of Glenn Hoddle, you think of Ricardo Villa, you think of Ozzy Ardiles. We know how legendary those guys were on the pitch. What were they like in training each day?
Oh, they're amazing. To train with them, and we're all good friends. And it was just having to be on the same pitch as a World Cup winner, or 2 of them. And when you see Glenn Hoddle in training, it's just unbelievable. So yeah, I was I wasn't overawed, because I knew, Bill Nicholson always said to me when he brought me to the club, and the manager Keith Burtonshaw, we brought you here because of your strengths and what you do as a player. So don't change, your philosophies. Just go out and do what you can do, and we know you'll be good enough. And at that time, I was playing in midfield, and it was very hard to get into Tottenham midfield. You had Glenn Hoddle, Ozzy Ardiles, Ricky Villa, Mickey Hazard. You had loads and loads of players. John Pratt was in there, and so. And all of a sudden, I made my debut at right back, and then they decided they wanted me to play centre back, and I went into second centre back, and played there 99% of my career.
And in terms of that, the first sort of main season at Tottenham, getting to the FA Cup final against Manchester City, an incredible achievement, and you go on to win the tournament. But it goes to a replay for younger people like me. Just sum up what that was like when you know, to us a final was a final, but back then it was different.
Yeah, it was different because we played on the Saturday. I lost 3 teeth on the Saturday where Chris Hughton kicked me in the mouth, and so I wasn't the best. But after the first game, when we drew 1-1, like we'd already booked the hotel to go there and have a party. So we decided, the management and the players decided, why we wouldn't give that up. We'd go there and celebrate anyway. And we went on the Saturday night there. We went back on the Sunday. On the Monday, we got back into it to train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the replay was on the Thursday night. So yeah, it was different, but it was good. It was good to have it like that. Now it's all you have penalty shootouts and things like that, so it's different.
And in terms of that first real FA Cup success, what was that like for you, considering that back then the FA Cup was the real showpiece? It was on television, yeah. Everybody watched it. So did that make it extra special, considering that you would have probably watched it growing up?
I did watch it, yeah. I did watch, I think every person, who ever watched the cup final, it was you watched it from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6, 7 o'clock if it was extra time. So yeah, it was difficult. It was not difficult, but it was an entertaining day. It was a whole day. Now it's sort of the FA Cup finals at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 5:30, and it goes on to 8:30, and that's the end of it. 3 hours where you had the cameras were with you from the time you woke up in the morning, walking around the gardens of the hotel, having breakfast, interviews. So no, it was a special tournament, very special. And to play in it, it was the 100th FA Cup final, so that made it special. And we was, delighted to win it on the second chance.
And you win it in 81, and then you find yourself back the way football goes in 82 against QPR. Yeah. How do you reflect on that success? Was it different to the first one because you'd been through the emotions before?
No, it was just as exciting. We were probably known as the cup team then. We should have won the league, I think, in 83 or 85, something like that. No, but, we were known as the cup team. We got to semi-finals of European trophies. So, yeah, we knew we had a good side. I think the 82 side was probably better than the 81. We had a couple of changes. So, yeah, we knew we had a decent side, and we knew what we had to do. QPR played very well in the second half of the it went to another replay on a Thursday night, and but we got through. And I remember, I think we played 66 games. I think 67 games that season. So I played in most of them. So yeah, it was a long old season.
And in terms of your manager at the time, Keith Birkinshaw, what was he like? You mentioned Bill Nicholson bringing you to the club, and he's such an icon of football. What was Keith like on a daily basis?
Well, Keith was the manager. Bill was a chief scout. But Keith was, terrific. He was like, when the day he left, he said there used to be a family at this football club. There used to be a family club, and that's gone now. And I think he's right. The family atmosphere that you had at football club at Tottenham at that time, Keith Birkinshaw built with Bill Nicholson. He made sure that you didn't want for anything. You wasn't on a lot of money. You were getting well paid, but you wasn't on not like the millions they get now. But whatever the club could do to help, they would do. And and all he ever asked for was to give 100%, and that's what you gave.
And in terms of the Tottenham at that time being known as the Cup team, you go on to win the UEFA Cup in '84. The run to the final, you beat Drogheda United, you beat Feyenoord, you beat Bayern Munich, you beat Austria Vienna, and then Hajduk Split on the way to the final. What were those European away days like in the lead up to that final? Because I imagine as players, that's what you really loved and lived for.
Yeah, definitely. And to win it in front of your own crowd just was the icing on the cake. The year before, we got knocked out by Bayern Munich, and we knew that in '84, when we got drawn against them, that they wasn't going to beat us that year, and we beat them 2-1. We lost the year before to them 4-1. We beat them 2-1 the second year. When we beat them, we thought we had a really, really good chance of getting to the final, and everybody just believed in themselves. And the 2-2 draw in Austria, we beat them 2-0 at home. We went to Hajduk Split and we lost 2-1 away, and then Mickey Hazard scored the winner at home, and we went through on away goals. And I think that was probably the hardest game we had in that tournament. And then we played Anderlecht, and we should have beaten them 4-5 over their place. We come away with 1-1, and when they scored and went 1-0 up at ours, it was a bit of a, hold on, this ain't supposed to happen. And, I was fortunate enough to score the equaliser, and then it went to penalties. And, yeah, to take the first penalty and put a bit of pressure on them was what we wanted. And I scored and they missed. So, yeah, it was a great night. But to win it in front of your own crowd, there's nothing better than that.
And just on that final, you mentioned scoring in the game itself, and I was interested there when you talk about hitting the first penalty. Was that something that was always clear you would do as a defensive-minded player, that
Yeah.
you would step up?
Yeah, I was the penalty taker. I spoke to Keith and before the game, and we said, look, if it does go to penalties, then and we won the toss, I would take the first penalty. And if you score the first penalty, which I was always confident of doing, it would put pressure on the other team, and that's what it did.
And in terms of the FA Cup successes, they were incredible. But when you get European success, the UEFA Cup, does that feel extra special? Does it feel that a more momentous trophy to win, given that so many teams, you mentioned Bayern Munich and others, entered that tournament?
Well, yeah, but don't forget the UEFA Cup then wasn't the 5th, 6th, 7th teams in the leagues. It was the 2nd, 3rd, 4th teams in the league. So it's like the Champions League is now. It was those sort of teams in the competition, and it was a tough old competition. There was no league where you played 6 games in a league basis. It was a knockout competition, and you had to be up for it from day one. There was no rankings, and that Bayern Munich were maybe top rank, and they're playing Tottenham Hotspur, who were probably 2nd or 3rd rank in it. So yeah, it was a difficult competition, but we were always confident we could win, and we did. And what a night it was as well.
I bet the celebrations were incredible. And in one player I want to ask you about, just thinking about celebrations and being a big character, Alan Brazil, what was he like as a footballer? Because again, so many people see him on radio as the big personality, but he was a very good player back in his day.
He was a very good player. Alan never wasn't in the squad that night. I think he might have been injured.
Yeah.
So he scored the 2 goals against Austria Vienna in the quarterfinal. And then I think he got one away from home as well. So, yeah, he played a big part in it, but I think he got in a nasty injury and he was pulled out. That night we had a lot of injuries and a lot of suspensions. But no, Alan was a fantastic for Ipswich. He was an amazing player. When he came to Tottenham, I'm just not sure he settled in as well as he wanted to. And because we have Stevie Archibald, Garth Crooks, Mark Falco, and Alan, there was 4 strikers fighting for 2 places, and maybe that didn't help as well. But no, he was an unbelievable player to play against, when he played for Ipswich, and we were delighted when he joined. We thought, well, this could take us to the league championship.
And in terms of that era, you mentioned being the sort of cup side. When you look back, how frustrated are you that you didn't quite go over the line in the league? Because when you think of the names that I reeled off earlier, and you named Archibald and others, it was an incredible Tottenham team.
Well, it was from 82 onwards. The team got better every year. And I was fortunate to be there and keep my place. But you had to fight. Don't forget, in those days, there was only one substitution.
Yeah.
So there was only one sub every week. So, you had probably 6 or 7 players not even playing and just playing in the reserves. So, yeah, it was a tough old club tough old team to stay in. We were disappointed. We felt one year Everton won it. I think it was 85. We were chasing and we, it was us and them. And then I think we had to play 11 games in 18 days because of it was a cold winter, and we were in every competition that you could think of, right to the final, depths of it. And yeah, it caught up with us. And I played in all 11 games, and by the end of it, it was tough. It was a tough old 18 days.
Especially when you consider players want a rest after just a couple of games in a week now.
Yeah, well, we played Saturday, had Sunday off, played Monday, had Tuesday off, played Wednesday, had Thursday off, played Friday and Saturday, just to get through, to get it through to the end of the season.
During that success, you mentioned Ipswich there. You broke into the England squad, who were managed by Alan's former manager at Ipswich, Sir Bobby Robson. What was he like to work with, and also how proud were you to pull on those 3 lions?
Well, I remember getting picked. We were in Trinidad on a tour, and Peter Shreves came and said, "Look, you've been picked for England. Congratulations. When you get back, you go and join up with them." It was the end of the season, and I was absolutely delighted because I remember going to watch England play. Peter Shilton was in goal, and I think it was the Poland game when they drew 1-1, and Poland knocked England out in the World Cup qualifier. Norman Hunter fell over the ball on the halfway line, and I was a ball boy behind the goal when that goal went in. And it was nice to be picked and be able to play on that pitch. And, I'd played on it for the FA Cup finals and all that, but to get picked for England was an amazing achievement. Yeah, I'm really very, very proud of that.
What's it like when you go away with the England side of that era? Obviously, club football, you know everyone, you're there day in, day out. What's it like when you go away with a national team and there's players from different clubs and some other big personalities as well?
Yeah, but no, sort of, because you play against them most weeks, everybody knows everybody. And then when you meet up, everybody's talking and having a chat and laugh. And, Brian Robson was a captain, and you'd have a pint of beer on the first night and you'd get into it. And Ray Wilkins was there, who I knew Ray very, very well. So, they made you welcome. Your first trip, there was a few things that they did, but you just had to get on with it. And, they were all good, great lads, and we've all stayed mates ever since. So, it was a great time. I only got 6 caps because I ruptured my appendicitis in Brazil, and I never got back in the team after that. But I did play for the B team against New Zealand and captain England. So, yeah, it was a great time for me.
Success at Tottenham, trophies, international recognition. You then joined Rangers in 1986, Graham Souness's Revolution. What was it like coming up to Rangers at that time? Because they built such an incredibly strong team with players from England like yourself, Terry Butcher, Chris Woods, and many others as well over the years.
Yeah, I think the gaffer, Souness, he sold it. He didn't need to sell it to me because I was a Rangers fan anyway before. But for him to come in and buy me and believe in me was great. I think over the 2 years I was there, 18 months, 19 months, whatever it was. I tried to give everything I ever had for the football club. It wasn't good when they got rid of me. I wasn't happy about it. But, having spoken to Graham since, he told me the reason why. And I just wish he would have told me the reason why when he did it. But that's what a manager is there for. He has to win trophies. You got lots of managers these days that don't win trophies and they're out of jobs. So, Graham knew what he was doing. We had a great bunch of lads. I turned up and I think we were 6 points, 8 points behind Celtic. And within 2 weeks, we'd overtaken them. And that's not down to me. That's down to good management and the way we played. And so I loved every minute I played there. If I could play now, I'd go back there. It's not a problem, but I'm watching them now, and I think Steven Gerrard's doing exactly the same as what Souness done.
And just on playing for Rangers, the size of club that they are, whenever you go to any away match, as you know, you're the big hitter, and everyone wants to sort of take you down a peg. Is that the sort of club and the environment that you felt that you flourished in because you were everyone's top dog?
Yeah, definitely. I think wherever, like we talk about Rangers, wherever Rangers play in Scotland, it's the other team's cup final. I think Rangers have it very, very hard because when Celtic go to certain clubs, they don't try as hard as they do when Rangers go. And everybody's, you can see that. And when we joined, everybody wanted to beat us. And I think because of the quality we had and the mentality of the English lads coming up, that built into the Scottish lads. And we had a winning mentality then. We wasn't going to lose. It didn't matter who we played, we wasn't going to lose. And if we did lose, we'd pick ourselves up the following week. So, yeah, it was, the manager knew what he was doing. He knew what characters we had. And, it just went from strength to strength after that.
Without taking you into sort of incidents over the years, what were those games against Celtic like? Because you've played in many derby matches, but what are those games like in particular?
Yeah, I played twice. I played in goal. Once Chris Woods got sent off and the next one he got carried off. They were the best games in the world to play in. Any derby you play in, right? Tottenham, Arsenal, Rangers, Celtic, everybody wants to play in those games because they're the biggest games and they're the best games. And it was no different for me. I wanted to play in every, all those big games and they are special. The atmosphere, you don't want to let the fans down. When you win, them fans are happy for 10 weeks, something like that, and then till you play them again. So, it's a vital game to win. Any derby is a vital game to win, but Rangers and Celtic is very, very special.
And when you look back at that 18, 19 months over the piece, the league title, the League Cup, although maybe you didn't stay at Rangers for as long as you would have wanted personally, you must still look back with real fondness in what you achieved in that short spell.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to thank all the fans, when I'm in Glasgow or I go to dinners, I'm treated like, I suppose, a god. They love you, and because of what you gave them, and hopefully, they were pleased with what we gave them. And Rangers have been out of it for a while, and Souness came and he wanted to win trophies, and that's what he did. And I was part of that, and I loved every minute of it. And I think they recognised me for conducting the singing. I think that's more than anything. I think that made their day, having been 2-0 down and come back 2-2 and conducting the singing. I think that goes down in a lot of Rangers fans' memory.
After Rangers, you joined Chelsea. It was a different Chelsea era as such. They were trying to get back to the top flight. How do you reflect on your time there? Because again, you go there and you do the business. You get Chelsea to where they inevitably wanted to get to.
Yeah, they got relegated that the year I went there, and they made me the captain. I felt when I went in there was a bit of sort of not togetherness in there. It was a bit of them and us, and so we had to stop that. And then once we stopped that, and the first 6 games we played, I think we picked up 4 or 5 points. We had a chat and we all got together, and I think we went from September, I don't know, 15th, 16th, something like that, right the way through to March without getting beat. And that's what brings success. And, we won the league comfortably. We got 99 points, 99 goals. I actually scored, I think I scored 17, 18 goals that season there. So, some Chelsea fans like me, some don't, but that's the way life is, because I'm a Tottenham person. A lot of Chelsea fans don't forgive me for that, but that's where I was brought up, and I've always been a Tottenham fan. So, no, but I did enjoy my time at Chelsea. We got them back to where they wanted to be, and Ken Bates sold the club a few, I don't know, about 5-10 years later, and look where they are now.
Absolutely, and you're right. When you look back at that era, it's very quick how, as you see, you can go from that era right into the Abramovich era 10 or 15 years later. In terms of your later years in your career before you retired from playing, how do you reflect on those when you'd obviously a spell at West Bromwich Albion and a few others?
Yeah, like a friend of mine, Brian Talbot, asked me to go and play there. So I went there for 18 months. Brian got sacked after 6 weeks, so he left me there by myself. But I was also, when I was at West Brom, I was going to be, David Holmes had left Rangers and went and bought, I think it was Dundee. And I was coming towards the end of my contract, and he asked me if I'd go and manage Dundee, which I agreed to. Then Bobby Gould had took over at West Brom, and he told me that when he first took over, he said, look, if you can get a club, you can go. And then when Dundee came in, I was actually in the West Brom team at that time, and playing really, really well. He wouldn't let me go. And so Dundee went and got the lad that used to be at QPR, and Simon Stainrod, and he went as their manager. And a week later, I'd snapped my Achilles, and so I was out, and West Brom didn't get any money from me, and my mate Ozzy Ardiles took over and released me from West Brom. So yeah, it wasn't good. It was a bad couple of months, that was.
In terms of your life after football, you go into coaching, you've coached in the UK, you've coached abroad. One game in particular, I know you've been asked a million times, Clyde against Celtic, Roy Keane's making his debut. You know what it was like, the media attention on that game. Keane's came to Celtic. As someone who played at Rangers, you mentioned the fact earlier you're a Rangers supporter. That must be a game and a memory that you're very proud of.
Yeah, it was probably the best game of my managerial life. Because about 3 or 4 weeks before that, we played Rangers at Ibrox in the League Cup, and we took them to extra time, and we lost 5-2 in extra time. But we were 2-1 up with about 8 minutes to go. And when we got drawn against Celtic, I sat down with my friends and I said, we're going to beat these. And they all started laughing. And I said, no, we're going to beat them. And I'm going to make sure we beat them. I'm going to go and watch them. I went and watched 4 games they played in before we played them. I drove to Inverness. I drove to Motherwell. I went all over the place watching them. And when they picked the team on the day, they had a strong side out. And Roy Keane hadn't played for about 6-8 weeks. So I said to my team, just get out there, work hard, run around, close people down, because they'll expect you to drop off and give them all the space, and Roy Keane can show all his tricks. And we got in amongst them. And the youngsters that I had, like, I think we had, most of them were under 21. And, we had, on that day, we scored 2 great goals. We had 3 goals disallowed. We missed a penalty and we hit the bar 3 times. And when we won that night, it was probably the happiest night of my life. I had 2 days off following it because of the media and all that. I don't think Clyde got the recognition they should have got for that, because when Berwick Rangers beat Rangers, it was like, but because we beat Celtic, it was headlines, but nobody ever brings it up and says about like Rangers and Berwick Rangers. No, but it was a fantastic achievement by the boys. And a lot of them could have gone a lot higher than what they are now and what they did then. But no, it was an amazing day. I'll never, ever forget it. And I have to say, when Roy Keane walked off, he said, "Oh, the better team won." And that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely, and it's a game that I know Celtic played Clyde last year, and people were talking about it again. And when you look back, as you say, at the Celtic team that day, an incredible achievement.
Oh, it was an amazing team. Yeah, it was an amazing team. They had all the stars out, and sort of. But I thought, on the day, if we played to our strengths and we played to our ability, because they were all good football players, the youngsters, we'd have too much energy from, and we did. And the referee mucked up 2 goals, and the linesman, there wasn't offside. So, I look at it and say, well, we beat them 2-1, but really we beat them 5-1. That's how I look at it.
Just a few quick ones before I let you go, Graham, and thanks for being so generous with your time. Best players you played with?
Oh, Glenn Hoddle, Brian Robson, Terry Butcher. I love playing with Terry. There's so many. I think the gaffer was brilliant. Souness, Ray Wilkins. You could go through millions and millions of them, but no, there was some. Stevie Perriman at Tottenham. There was loads of players.
And in terms of the teams you played for on an international level, are there any players that stand out to you as maybe being underrated by the fans, but as professionals you fully appreciated them, but as I say, maybe the fans didn't fully appreciate them for whatever reason?
No, not really, because I think, myself and Paul Miller, we were at the back for Tottenham. Paul Miller was very underrated. Very, very good player, strong, powerful. And he never got the recognition that he deserved, because we had, I think one year we went 1,200 minutes without conceding a goal. Well, that's a lot of minutes. It's just like 18, 20 games. So, yeah, those sort of players, you need those players in your team. You can have all your superstars, but you also need the hard-working players. And we had a great understanding, myself and Paul.
Toughest opponents?
What, team?
Team or players?
Yeah. I think Liverpool and Dalglish, Rush. I played against Platini for France. Very tough player to play against. Rummenigge for Germany. He played for Bayern Munich. But listen, that's what you're out there for. You have to play against the best and show them that you're the best. So that's what I tried to do. I was never frightened to play against any player, because I think if you have fear, then you're not going to be the player you are.
In terms of the coaches you had, is there a particular one that stands out for you as having the greatest impact on you personally?
Yeah, I think Peter Shreves and Walter Smith. I think, Walter was very, very good. You had a good cop and a bad cop, and sometimes he was a good cop, sometimes he might have been the bad one. But Peter Shreves was very good. Tactically he was very good at Tottenham. Those two were a big influence on my career.
The last question I've got for you, based on your love of Tottenham, you're still got an association with the club now. You played at White Hart Lane for all those years. Just what was your reaction when you walked out at the new stadium for the first time? Because it looks magnificent.
Oh, it's an amazing stadium. I don't get how players can't give their all on that pitch for Tottenham. It's an absolutely amazing place. I've got to say that the old stadium was better because of more atmosphere. When the old stadium was rocking, it was rocking. This one, not because of the pandemic as well, it's not really got going yet, but it will do. Once we get back, I think it'll be a different attitude there. But I've got to say, it's the best stadium I've ever been to in my life. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Brilliant. Graham, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure, mate. All the best.